So I got our crazy little hydrant going, and I'm going to just turn that, not that guy, we're going to turn that off right for now, just for the visibility. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more, and we're going to create a landscape. Showed you that briefly a little bit earlier. We're actually going to put it more into play this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to really work with the scale. We're not going to create like a mountain range. We just kind of want kind of a nice, usual size landscape. Not anything that's too hilly, I guess you would say. So with that, we're just going to grab these handles and we're just going to pull it out like that. And the reason I like this landscape is because it already has some deformers in it that can really help us just put some imperfections in there. Certainly you can use a flat plane and put a bump map on, or a displacement map like I showed you when we did the blood cells and the veins in there. Okay, but if you take a look here, and let's put the hydrant back on, take the landscape, move, and it's confusing me because I don't have my axis handles back on, so I got to put those back on. Let's pull this down, and we're going to put this right to the edge. It's just going to be a hydrant sitting in the grass. And we're going to put this on, and I'm going to show you another little cool tool, how to make a plant, momentarily. And we're just going to fill up the frame with this. There we go. Like that. And where's my other handle? Come on. Like that. Good. It's a nice size there. And just enough variation in it so that you can work with it a little bit. If you want, you can put a little more roughness on. Not too much. You can definitely add some more segments to it if you're going to rough it up a little bit more. You can play with the sea level, and that just kind of raises different variables within it. But you got to make sure that that entire unit is sitting so that your object is sitting on it, depending on what part of the landscape you're in. Because you don't want to, definitely don't want it to be floating. It's okay if it goes into the dirt a little bit. Okay, but let's say it's not. Okay. So you got it right there, and you have to have it there, but you need those particular polygons leveled off. What do? Let's make this editable, the landscape, number one. Then let's right-click and choose the iron. And with the iron, you can just kind of click and drag and flatten that out. It's kind of like a smoothing tool. Okay, and I'm going to turn off my hydrant just for the time being, just to make things a little bit faster. And again, there's a lot of geometry to work with here, but basically what this allows me to do is just smooth things out. So as I'm applying it, you can see it kind of updating and waiting. Okay, so just a little extra tool in there. Again, you have to make your object editable. I am simply going to take this landscape and, of course, just move it a little bit more. But depending on the scene, you can certainly use your iron as well. Okay, so just give me an opportunity just to show you that. All right, so there is our landscape. And when we select the landscape, let's go up to an animation layout. Of course, size this back down, because this is going to get us ready for our animation. And from there, let's go to hair, and we're going to add fur. Okay, and that adds fur all over that landscape. Now we've got quite a bit of land here to cover, because we might want to actually do kind of a long shot like this, something like that, and create some depth back there. Okay, so I'm going to create maybe about 60,000 hairs. We're going to randomize them about 25 degrees, just so they kind of shoot all over. And if you do just a render at this point, you can see how it's looking. There's a lot of hairs to calculate. Okay, but the fur is going to work pretty nicely for us throughout, just creating a little bit of a grass area. And what's kind of fun about doing this is that this guy here, these particular furs, I'm actually going to make about 3 times their normal length, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. And we're going to call these, and actually, you know what? I'm going to actually make these even longer, 120. Okay. So we're taking the fur that we created, and we're going to call them weeds. I'm going to go back to my landscape, and then I'm going to go to hair and actually add hair. Okay. We're adding both to the scene. A lot of people think you got to do one or the other, and the idea here is that we're doing both to this landscape. We don't really need 8 segments. I'm going to cut those down in half, and the length I'm going to bring down to about 30. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my hair, tools, and brush. And just around this area, I'm just going to kind of brush these around a bit. And maybe not even, that's a little too much influence there. We're going to brush those around. We want that strength to be about 30%. And we're just going to kind of mess these up a bit. And actually, we could probably go in with a texture too. But we're just going to kind of do it like that. Works pretty nicely. And then, of course, we want to give them just a little bit of a variation. So make sure those hairs are selected. And let's take the growth and the density. We're going to add noise, just so it varies it a bit once we render that out. Okay, let's do a render and see how that looks. We haven't put any shading or anything on yet. But the idea here is that you can put fur and hair on all at the same time. And we did that with the gangster head. Put a little fur on the beard, a little hair on the head. 2 separate polygons, 1 object. Here's all the same polygons with just 1 single object. So, and you have a nice variation there to work with. Okay, and I can increase these when it comes time for the final render. So then let's go to the actual hairs themselves and take the 5,000 and make those about 60,000. And we'll make these roots about half that, these segments that is, like the roots. Okay, and then the fill hairs, we can actually put fill hairs on and keep those about 40. Let's do a render, and this is going to take a little bit of time to calculate and pop up. So let's move on to the next video while this renders, and I'll show you what that looks like.